everybody. I'm Pastor Stephen from Peace Lutheran Church in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And I serve as the Bishop of the Southeastern Synod, Kevin Strickland, and our synod encompasses Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Alabama. It's nice to talk with you today, Pastor Stephen.
Yeah, I'm so glad you are here. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your baptism story, because we've been hearing from lots of different folks, and it is such an incredible gift. And you've got a story to tell as well. So, Bishop, what is your baptism story?
I didn't even know when I was baptized till I was probably a sophomore or junior in college. I knew that I was baptized, but had no clue what the date of it was. And I got asked for a college class to research the date of my baptism. So I asked my parents, and they said, we remember it was near Christmas, is all we remember. And I asked, were there pictures? They said, well, yeah, go look in the book. And it was from an old Polaroid camera. Unfortunately, it was so dark in the picture, you can't really see me or anybody in the picture. So I went to the church. I was brought up in Mount Tabor Lutheran in West Columbia, South Carolina, and went to the archives and found the parochial parish records and the old red book in the safe, and opened it up and looked at December. And I knew that it was a month after I was born. So I went there and looked, and kept flipping and flipping, and I found out that it just happened to be that year, the first Sunday of Advent, and which also happened to be December 6th, which is St. Nicholas Day. So it was kind of interesting to find that out, that I was born, and then a month later I got baptized. And in between the being born and the being baptized, there was an issue with my lungs, and I almost died in between. And so they got me baptized very quickly. My former Catholic grandmother felt like that was very important, which it is. And so then I got baptized. And then when I found out it was St. Nicholas Day, that's always been a special treat for me to remember that, because in congregations, we always had St. Nicholas festivals, and the kids got excited about that and put chocolate in their shoes and those types of things. But so it was fun to remember that. So every December 6th, I remember my baptism more and more for that. But and the pastor that baptized me, I ended up getting to know well as an adult, and was very close to him. And he claimed the promises of his baptism just this past year, as he died and entered into the communion of saints. But forever remember Pastor Easley for that gift he gave my family.
Yeah, what an incredible gift to give, and an opportunity to get to know that pastor in later life. I mean, what an incredible thing. And I love those being baptized on St. Nicholas Day and the first Sunday of Advent, and new church year starting and new life, and just all those things coming together. That's wonderful. Was there any reason why they chose that day, other than, hey, you it was kind of touch and go for a little while, and let's get them baptized?
Honestly, I think it just happened to be the first Sunday that I was able to go to church, and it just was convenient. So the whole family was there, and at that particular time, they did the baptism toward the end of the service, which was interesting, because they did it and invited everyone to kind of come around the very small little font. So the one picture I have, you can sort of see people in the picture, but yeah.
So I guess like everybody gathering together around the font. Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
they squeezed in, because there wasn't a whole lot of room up there, because it was near the front of the church. So they've since moved it to the back of the church. But yeah.
Gotcha. Fabulous. Well, I was curious about the reason for the date, because I was baptized January 27th, 1985. And I was asking my parents, why was it that day? And they're like, well, we're people who love Jesus. We know we need to have our child baptized, and that was a good travel date for everybody. And I'm like, fourth Sunday after the Epiphany, great day to
I was going to say, I think that's the conversion of Saul to Paul or something around that day. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were baptized when you were a month old. You are now more than a month old. What does your baptism mean to you today? How has your baptism gone on to shape your life?
Yeah, I always tell people that your first vocation comes when you're baptized. Um, and, for us as Lutherans, whether you're ordained as a pastor in the church or not, we believe that God ordains you in your baptism to be God's child and to be God's priest in the world, if you will. So for me, it's an important part of my daily theology, but also what it means to be a bishop in the church, to remind people that um, everything we do and all that we are is because of who God continues to claim us as God's own. So from that vantage point, whether you're as Luther would say, whether you're the person that's sweeping the streets, or you're the doctor who's delivering the baby, or you're the priest who's preaching the sermon, no calling is higher than the other, but all callings start in baptism. So for me, I've kind of always had that Martin Luther understanding of vocation, that it's God's inward call that begins, and then it's the outward call that starts in your when people start mentioning that to you, but it starts in your baptism. And when people say, "Oh, I don't feel called to anything," uh, my answer is God's already called you to one really important thing, which is God's child, which is something that can never be washed away or gotten rid of. So that sort of has guided me in my work. And when people say, "Well, introduce yourself," sometimes if I'm quick on my feet, I'll say, a baptized child of God. And then I'll start listing all the things that come after your name. So I just think it's a grounding principle of who we are and why we are God's people.
Yeah, right on, right on. Um, for a while, I thought about making like a driver's license, but like a baptismal card, like the same sort of thing, and trying to say, "Oh, my name is Stephen Friedrich. I'm a baptized child of God. Here's my card." But
Yeah, I did
that's
that one time. I was in the parish baptism of our Lord. I gave every person a little card that said, "Remember, you are God's beloved."
mm,
And so as they came up for communion, I just gave each person a card. Told them to stick it in their wallet or put it on their mirror or whatever. Um, and you do a good job of reminding people to remember their baptisms, and you're the baptism guy. In our synod, we're actually focusing on baptism a lot this year. We're doing baptismal promises all through Lent
yeah,
on Monday evening, and so people can join us for that if they want on Zoom. Our deans are going to be discussing the baptismal promises at our retreat, and then at Synod Assembly this year, we're going to have faith stories that are going to talk about how people live out those promises in their lives and in their ministry and in their work. So by the end of at least June, people will hear a lot about baptism. Yeah.
all right, wonderful, man. That's great. That's a wonderful thing. Well, Bishop Strickland, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and sharing about baptism. And I mean, this incredible gift from God, where God claims us and calls us calls us beloved. That's a really good word for us today. So thank you. And for those of you who are watching today, if you have not yet been baptized, echoing what Bishop Strickland said when he was here preaching at Peace, come on down. We'd love to share this gift with you. We'd love for you to be baptized. So reach out to me, reach out to Bishop Strickland, and we'd love to extend that gift. And if you already have been baptized, we really encourage you to embrace that gift, embrace your identity as one of God's beloved, not because of anything you've done, but because of God's love for you and God's choice of you. So thanks so much for being here, everybody. Take care. Have a great day.